The conference room at Dad's office smelled like stale coffee and betrayal. I should have known something was wrong when Mom texted me to dress professionally for what she called a family discussion. My name is Michelle, and I'm 30 years old. I thought I knew my family until that Tuesday afternoon, when they gathered around a mahogany table, like vultures circling roadkill. The numbers don't lie, Dad said, sliding a manila folder across the table. His tie was perfectly knotted, his expression clinical. Sunny Meadows costs $3,000 a month. Golden Years is $1,200. The choice is obvious. I stared at the brochures. Sunny Meadows showed smiling elderly people in a garden. Golden Years looked like a prison with fluorescent lighting and linoleum floors. We're talking about Grandma Violet, I said. Not a business expense. Uncle Caden leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. Michelle, honey, you're being emotional. This is about what's practical. Practical? The word tasted bitter. She raised half of you when your parents were working. She's 84 with dementia, Aunt Selina interrupted, not looking up from her phone. She won't know the difference. My chest tightened. She absolutely will know the difference. Have you seen Golden Years? The smell alone. The smell? Dad's voice sharpened. Michelle, you're 29 years old. You've never owned property, never had a real career. You paint pictures and wait tables. What do you know about long-term care costs? I know Grandma deserves better than being warehoused in the cheapest place you can find. Mom finally spoke up, her voice barely above a whisper. Honey, we all want what's best for her. But we have to be realistic about the finances. Whose finances? I looked around the table. Dad, you drive a BMW. Caden, didn't you just buy a boat? Selina, how much did you spend on that kitchen renovation? Uncle Omar shifted uncomfortably. Michelle, we all have our own families to think about, our own retirement to plan for, right? God forbid Grandma's care cuts into your retirement fund. That's enough. Dad's voice cut through the room like a blade. You're too emotional to make these decisions. This is exactly why we didn't include you in the initial planning. The words hit me like a slap. You didn't include me because you knew I'd fight you on this. We didn't include you because you're not thinking clearly, Caden said. Look, we've all talked about this. Golden Years has decent reviews, and the price point works for everyone. Everyone except Grandma. Cousin Bella, who'd been silent until now, cleared her throat. Maybe we could visit both places. See what they're actually like. We already did, Selina said. Golden Years is fine, clean, safe. That's what matters. I pulled out my phone and showed them the Google reviews I'd found. Listen to this. Staff is overwhelmed and understaffed. My father fell twice in 1 week. And this one. Food is inedible. Mom lost 15 pounds in 2 months. Cherry-picking negative reviews proves nothing, Dad said. What about this? I scrolled to another review. Residents are left in soiled clothes for hours. The smell of urine is constant. Enough. Dad stood up. We're not running a charity here. The decision is made. Golden Years it is. You can't just decide this without her input. She has dementia, Michelle. She can't make these decisions anymore. She has good days. She's still in there. When was the last time you actually spent time with her? Caden asked. Not just a quick visit, but real time? I felt my face flush. I see her every week. For an hour, maybe 2. He shook his head. You don't understand what we're dealing with. The wandering, the confusion, the incontinence. She needs professional care. She needs family. She'll have family, Mom said weakly. We'll visit. When? Between your book club and yoga classes? Between Dad's golf games and Caden's fishing trips? The room fell silent. I could hear the air conditioning humming, the distant sound of traffic outside. The vote is 5-1, Dad said finally. Democracy in action. Democracy? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. This isn't democracy. This is 5 people choosing convenience over conscience. I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. Fine, but don't pretend this is about what's best for her. This is about what's cheapest for you. As I walked toward the door, I heard Selena mutter, "She'll understand when she's older." I stopped, my hand on the doorknob. Something cold and hard settled in my chest. If love was weakness in their eyes, maybe it was time to show them just how strong weakness could be. "We'll see about that," I said, and walked out. 3 days later, I was standing in the manager's office at my apartment complex, signing papers that would change everything. "You sure about this, Michelle?" Janet asked, sliding the lease termination across her desk. "Breaking early means you forfeit your deposit." "I'm sure." I signed my name with a shaking hand. $1,200 down the drain, but it was nothing compared to what I was about to do. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. "Honey, we've scheduled Grandma's move for next Friday. Golden Years has an opening." I turned the phone face down and kept signing. 2 hours later, I was at Grandma's assisted living facility, watching her pick at a sad-looking turkey sandwich. "They want to move you," I said without preamble. Her eyes, cloudy but still sharp, met mine. "Where?" "Somewhere cheaper. Somewhere—" I couldn't finish. "Somewhere they can forget about me faster." She set down her sandwich. "I heard your father on the phone yesterday. Thought I was sleeping. What did he say?" "That I'm becoming a burden. That the family needs to be practical." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Practical. That's what they called it when they put your grandfather in that awful place too. I reached across the table and took her hand. "What if I told you there was another option?" "Like what?" "Like coming home with me." She blinked. "Michelle, honey, you can't." "I can. I've already given notice on my apartment. I've got enough saved to rent a small house, something with a yard. We could get a hospital bed, hire a part-time aide when I'm at work. The cost—" "Let me worry about the cost." She squeezed my hand. "Your parents will be furious. They're already furious. At least this way, you'll be somewhere you're wanted." That evening, I called Dad. "You what?" His voice cracked through the phone. "I'm taking her home with me. I've already talked to her doctor, got the referrals for home health services." "Michelle, this is insane. You have no idea what you're getting into." "I know exactly what I'm getting into." "Do you? Do you know about the 3 a.m. wandering? The accidents? The days when she doesn't recognize anyone?" "I know about the days when she does recognize people. When she tells stories about her childhood, when she laughs at old movies, when she asks about my paintings." "Your paintings." He sighed heavily. "Michelle, you're throwing your life away." "I'm choosing my life. There's a difference." "What about your career? Your future?" "What career, Dad? You just told me 3 days ago that I wait tables and paint pictures. Which is it? Am I throwing away a promising future, or am I a failure with nothing to lose?" Silence on the other end. "This is temporary insanity," he said finally. "You'll regret this in 6 months. Maybe, but I won't regret not trying." After I hung up, my phone immediately started buzzing. First Caden, then Selena, then Mom. I let them all go to voicemail. The next morning, I found a house. Small, 1-story, with a ramp already installed and a fenced backyard. The rent was $800 more than my apartment, but the landlord, Mrs. Patterson, seemed understanding when I explained the situation. "My mother lived with me for 5 years," she said, handing me the keys. "Best 5 years of my life, even when they were the hardest." Moving day was a circus. I'd hired 2 guys with a truck to help move Grandma's things from the facility and my stuff from storage. Grandma sat in her wheelchair on the front porch, directing traffic like a general. The dresser goes in the bedroom, not the living room, she called out. And be careful with those photo albums. They're worth more than everything else combined. I was in the kitchen, unpacking dishes, when my phone rang. Mom. Michelle, please reconsider. It's not too late to… Mom, she's already here. We're home. This is going to destroy you. The stress, the isolation, the financial burden. I'm not isolated. I have Grandma. For how long? What happens when she gets worse? What happens when you can't handle it anymore? I looked through the kitchen window at Grandma, who was laughing at something one of the movers had said. Then I'll figure it out. But at least I'll have tried. That night, after the movers left, and the boxes were stacked everywhere, Grandma and I sat on the couch eating Chinese takeout. You know they're going to make this difficult for you, she said. Let them try. They'll say you're taking advantage of me, that you're after my money. I nearly choked on my lo mein. What money? She gave me a look I couldn't quite read. There's more to this story than you know, sweetheart. What do you mean? She patted my hand. Help me to my room. There's something I need to show you. In her bedroom, she pointed to the closet. Top shelf, the blue box. I pulled down a heavy wooden box, locked with an old-fashioned key. The key's taped under the jewelry box, she said. Inside were stacks of papers, old photographs, and a bundle of letters tied with a ribbon. My name was written on the top envelope in Grandma's careful handwriting. What is all this? She smiled. Insurance, honey. Insurance. 2 years passed, like a blur of doctor appointments, medication schedules, and sleepless nights. But they were also filled with something I hadn't expected. Joy. Michelle, come look at this, Grandma called from the living room one Tuesday morning. She was sitting at the card table I'd set up by the window, working on a jigsaw puzzle. What is it? This piece. It's been sitting right here for 3 days, and I just now saw where it goes. She placed a small corner piece, completing a section of blue sky. Sometimes you have to stop looking so hard to see what's right in front of you. I kissed the top of her head. Profound wisdom from the puzzle master. Don't mock your elders, she said, but she was smiling. The doorbell rang. Through the peephole I saw Mom holding a casserole dish. Rachel's here, I called out. Tell her to wipe her feet, Grandma said, and ask if she brought those cookies I like. Mom came in looking nervous, like she always did during these visits. How are you feeling today, Mom? Like I'm 86 years old. How are you supposed to feel? I brought that tuna casserole you used to make for us kids. I never made tuna casserole. I hate tuna. Mom's face fell. Oh, I thought… I'm teasing you, Rachel. Sit down before you give yourself a heart attack. We ate lunch together, Mom asking careful questions about medications and doctor visits. She stayed exactly 45 minutes, like always. I should get going, she said, checking her watch. Book club at 3. After she left, Grandma shook her head. That girl has been checking her watch since she was 5 years old. Always somewhere else to be. She cares. She just doesn't know how to show it. Caring and showing up are 2 different things, honey. The next week, Caden and his wife stopped by. They brought flowers and stayed for exactly 20 minutes. You're looking good, Mom, Caden said, though he barely looked at her. I'm dying slowly, but thank you. Don't talk like that. Why not? It's true. We're all dying slowly. Some of us are just more honest about it. His wife, Sandra, took pictures of them together. For the family album, she said. After they left, I found Grandma staring out the window. They take pictures like they're collecting evidence, she said. Evidence of what? That they were here. That they tried. She turned to me. You know what the difference is between you and them? What? You're here when there's no camera. That evening, we were watching an old movie when Grandma suddenly grabbed my hand. Michelle, I need to tell you something important. What is it? Your family thinks I'm losing my mind. Grandma, let me finish. Some days I am confused, some days I forget things, but I'm not stupid and I'm not blind. She squeezed my hand tighter. I see what they're doing. The quick visits, the photos, the way they talk about me like I'm not in the room. They love you. They love the idea of me, the grandmother who baked cookies and babysat their children. But they don't love who I am now. I do. I know you do. That's why I need you to promise me something. Anything. Don't let them rewrite history when I'm gone. Don't let them pretend they were devoted family members who did everything they could. Grandma, you're not going anywhere. Promise me, Michelle. I promise. A month later, I was getting Grandma ready for bed when she said, I think Bella was in my room today. What do you mean? When you went to the store. She said she was looking for the bathroom, but she was going through my dresser drawers. Are you sure? I may be old, but I'm not blind. She was looking for something. The next day, I installed a small security camera in Grandma's bedroom. I told myself it was to monitor her safety, but deep down, I knew better. 2 weeks later, the camera caught Bella going through Grandma's desk while I was at work, and Grandma was napping. She photographed several documents with her phone before carefully putting everything back. That evening, I confronted her over the phone. I was looking for insurance information, she said. Dad asked me to check on some paperwork. What kind of paperwork? Just financial stuff, making sure everything's in order. For what? Michelle, we're all just trying to help. We want to make sure Grandma's affairs are handled properly. Her affairs are handled by me. That's what we're worried about. After I hung up, I found Grandma in the kitchen, making tea. They're getting nervous, she said without looking up. About what? About you. About this. She gestured around the kitchen. About the fact that you're the one taking care of me instead of shipping me off to die alone. They're not that calculating. She handed me a cup of tea and smiled. Oh, honey, you still have so much to learn about this family. What do you mean? Get that blue box. It's time you read those letters. The letters were dated over the past 5 years, written in Grandma's shaky handwriting. Each envelope had a family member's name on it. I opened the one marked Mark first. My eldest son has always been practical, I read aloud. Even as a child, he calculated the cost of everything. Love, time, attention, all had price tags in Mark's world. He visits me now with the same efficiency he brings to his business meetings. 15 minutes of small talk, a photo for proof, then back to his important life. Grandma sipped her tea. Keep reading. He doesn't know I can hear him in the hallway, talking to the nurses about my deteriorating condition and financial planning. He's already spent my money in his head. I looked up. Grandma, this is true. Every word. She pointed to another envelope. Read Caden's. Caden was always jealous of his older brother, always trying to prove he was just as smart, just as successful. Now, he sees my death as his chance to finally get something Mark can't take away from him. He brought his wife to meet with my financial advisor last month, told them he was helping coordinate my care. The advisor called me afterward. My hands were shaking. They went to your financial advisor without telling me, without asking. She reached across the table and patted my hand. There's more. I opened Selena's envelope. Selena has always been the most honest about her selfishness. She doesn't pretend to care. She just wants her share and wants it quickly. She asked me directly last Christmas how much money I had and whether I'd updated my will recently. At least she's not a hypocrite. Jesus, Grandma. Language, dear. But yes, that was my reaction too. I was about to open another letter when my phone rang. Sean Lewis, Grandma's lawyer. "Michelle, I need to speak with you and your grandmother as soon as possible." "What's wrong?" "I'd rather discuss this in person. Can you come in tomorrow morning?" "Of course. Is everything okay?" "We'll talk tomorrow." The next morning, Sean's office felt different. More formal, more serious. He was a kind man in his 40s who'd handled Grandma's legal affairs for years, but today, his usual warmth was replaced by professional concern. "Violet, Michelle, thank you for coming in." He opened a thick file. "I've had some unusual inquiries about your estate recently." "What kind of inquiries?" Grandma asked. "Your son, Mark, contacted me last week. He wanted to discuss your mental capacity and whether your current will reflect your true intentions." I felt my stomach drop. "What did you tell him?" "That I couldn't discuss your affairs without your permission." But he was quite persistent. He mentioned concerns about undue influence. "Undue influence from who?" I asked, though I already knew. "From you, Michelle. He suggested that your grandmother might not be making decisions in her own best interest." Grandma's jaw tightened. "What else?" "Caden called yesterday. He wanted to know if you'd made any recent changes to your will. When I declined to answer, he asked about the process for having someone declared incompetent." "They want to have me declared incompetent?" Grandma's voice was deadly quiet. "It appears they're exploring their options. I wanted to warn you before they take any formal steps." I stood up, pacing to the window. Can they do that? Can they actually have her declared incompetent? It's possible, but they'd need medical evidence. They'd have to prove she can't make rational decisions about her finances or care. "But she can," I said. "She's sharp as a tack most days." "I know that. You know that. But if they get the right doctor, present the right evidence—" He shrugged. "The system isn't perfect." Grandma leaned forward. "What would happen if they succeeded?" "They could petition for guardianship, take control of your finances, your medical decisions, your living situation. They could force me into a nursing home." "Yes." The room fell silent except for the ticking of Sean's desk clock. "What are our options?" I asked. "Well, you could update your will to reflect your current wishes, make your intentions crystal clear. You could also establish a trust, which would be harder for them to challenge." "Do it," Grandma said immediately. "Are you sure? This is a big decision." "Sean, I've been making big decisions since before these children were born. I'm not about to stop now." "There's something else," Sean said carefully. "Someone called my office yesterday asking about my fees and whether I'd ever been disciplined by the Bar Association." "Someone from our family?" I asked. The caller didn't identify themselves, but they knew details about Violet's case that only family members would know. Grandma smiled, but it wasn't pleasant. "They're trying to discredit you, too." "It appears so." "Then we better move fast," she said. "How quickly can we get this done?" "I can have the paperwork ready by Friday." "Good. And Sean, I want everything documented, every conversation, every decision, every signature. If my family wants to play games, they're going to learn that I've been playing longer than they've been alive." As we left the office, I helped Grandma into the car. "Are you sure about this?" I asked. "Michelle, honey, I've never been more sure of anything in my life. They're going to be furious. Let them be furious. Fury is just fear wearing a mask." That evening, I found a document slipped under our front door. A petition for guardianship, already filled out, missing only the signatures and filing date. They weren't just planning anymore. They were ready to act. Dad showed up at 7 a.m. on a Tuesday. No warning, no phone call. I opened the door to find him standing there with Caden and a woman I didn't recognize. "We need to talk," Dad said, pushing past me into the house. Good morning to you too. Who's your friend? The woman stepped forward. I'm Dr. Patricia Hayes, a geriatric psychiatrist. We're here to conduct a wellness check on your grandmother. A wellness check? Since when? Since concerned family members reported potential elder abuse, Dr. Hayes said, pulling out a clipboard. My blood turned to ice. Elder abuse? Caden crossed his arms. Michelle, we know this situation has gotten out of hand. Mom needs professional care. She has professional care. She has a home health aide 3 days a week, a visiting nurse, and regular doctor appointments. What she has, Dad said, is an unemployed granddaughter who's isolated her from her family and is probably after her money. I'm not unemployed. I work part-time at the art supply store, and I freelance. 20 hours a week at minimum wage isn't a career, Michelle. Grandma appeared in the hallway, using her walker. What's all this shouting about? Dr. Hayes approached her with a practiced smile. Mrs. Violet, I'm Dr. Hayes. Your family asked me to visit with you today. Did they now? Grandma's voice was sharp. And what exactly did my family tell you? They're concerned about your living situation. They want to make sure you're safe and well cared for. I see. And where were these concerned family members for the past 3 years while Michelle was changing my diapers and holding my hair back when I was sick? Dr. Hayes glanced at her clipboard. I understand there may be some family tension, but… There's no tension, Doctor. There's clarity. My granddaughter takes care of me. The rest of them take pictures for Facebook. Dad stepped forward. Mom, you're not thinking clearly. Michelle has you isolated here. When's the last time you saw your other grandchildren? Your friends? When's the last time any of them called me? Visited me? Asked how I was feeling? That's not the point, Caden said. The point is, you need professional medical supervision. I have medical supervision. Dr. Martinez comes here twice a month. The visiting nurse checks my vitals weekly. What I don't need is to be warehoused in some facility so you can sleep better at night. Dr. Hayes was scribbling notes. Mrs. Violet, can you tell me what year it is? 2024. It's Tuesday, November 12th. The president is an idiot, my coffee is getting cold, and my sons are trying to have me committed so they can get their hands on my house. Mom, that's not… Dad started. Don't mom me, Mark. You haven't called me Mom with any affection in 20 years. Dr. Hayes continued her questions. Can you tell me your address? Grandma rattled off the address, her phone number, her social security number, and her doctor's name. She answered every question perfectly, her voice getting stronger with each response. She's obviously being coached, Caden muttered to Dad. I can hear you, Caden. I may be old, but I'm not deaf. Dr. Hayes closed her clipboard. Mrs. Violet, your family is concerned about your financial management. Are you able to handle your own banking and bills? Michelle helps me with the computer banking, but I review every transaction. I sign every check. I make every decision about my money. And who has access to your accounts? Michelle has power of attorney for convenience, but only I can make withdrawals over $500. Dad's face was getting red. See? She's already got power of attorney. She's manipulating. I gave her power of attorney because she's the only one who's earned it, Grandma snapped. She's the only one who's been here when I needed help. Dr. Hayes looked uncomfortable. I think I have enough information for now. After she left, Dad and Caden stayed behind. This isn't over, Dad said. We're filing the guardianship petition tomorrow. On what grounds? I asked. On the grounds that you've isolated her, manipulated her, and are clearly after her money. What money, Dad? You think she's sitting on some fortune? Caden and Dad exchanged a look. The house alone is worth $400,000, Caden said. Plus her savings, her investments. What investments? Don't play dumb, Michelle. We know she has money. After they left, I found Grandma in the kitchen, making tea with shaking hands. "Are you okay?" "I'm furious, but I'm also proud of you for not punching your father in the face." "The day is young," she laughed despite everything. "Michelle, we need to call Sean. Today." "Already on it." I dialed his number. "Sean, it's Michelle. We have a problem." An hour later, we were back in his office. "They can't just have you declared incompetent based on a 10-minute conversation," Sean said, "but they can make things difficult." "How difficult?" "They could request a formal competency hearing, bring in their own doctors, their own witnesses." "Witnesses to what?" "To your grandmother's supposed decline, to your alleged manipulation." Grandma leaned forward. "What do we need to do?" "We need to finalize your new will and trust immediately. Today, if possible. Once it's signed and witnessed, it becomes much harder to challenge." "Do it." "Violet, are you absolutely certain about these changes?" "Sean, I've never been more certain of anything in my life." As we signed the papers, Sean's phone rang. He glanced at the caller ID and frowned. "I need to take this." He stepped into the hallway. When he came back, his face was grim. That was someone claiming to be from the state attorney general's office. They wanted to know if I'd ever been investigated for elder abuse or unethical practices. "Jesus," I whispered. "The thing is," Sean continued, "the number they called from, it's registered to a private investigator in town." Grandma smiled coldly. "They hired a private investigator?" "It appears so." "Good," she said. "Let them investigate. They're about to learn that some secrets are worth keeping." 3 months later, I woke up to find Grandma sitting on the edge of her bed, staring at her hands. "I can't remember how to button my shirt," she said quietly. I knelt beside her. "That's okay. I'll help you. Yesterday, I forgot your name for 10 minutes. I knew you were important, knew I loved you, but I couldn't remember who you were. But you remembered eventually, this time." She looked at me with eyes that seemed older than her 86 years. "Michelle, it's getting worse." I helped her with her shirt, my hands steady even though my heart was breaking. "We'll figure it out. We always do." "No, honey. This time is different." Dr. Martinez confirmed what we both already knew during his visit that afternoon. "The progression is accelerating," he said gently. "She might have weeks, maybe a few months." "What can we do?" "Keep her comfortable. Keep her surrounded by love. That's all any of us can do." After he left, I found Grandma in the living room, holding the bundle of letters from the blue box. "I want you to read the one with your name on it," she said. "Now?" "Now." My hands trembled as I opened the envelope. The letter was longer than the others, written in Grandma's careful script. "My dearest Michelle," I read aloud, "if you're reading this, it means I'm near the end, and it's time you knew the whole truth." I looked up. "Grandma," "Keep reading. Your family thinks I'm a foolish old woman with a modest savings account and a house that needs work. They've calculated what they think they'll inherit down to the penny. What they don't know is that your grandfather was smarter with money than any of them ever gave him credit for." My voice caught. "What does that mean?" "Keep reading, sweetheart. The investments he made 50 years ago, the life insurance policies, the property he bought when land was cheap, it all adds up to more than they can imagine. Much more." I set the letter down. "How much more?" $2.3 million. The room spun. "What?" "Your grandfather bought land outside the city in 1970 for $3,000. Developers want it now for a shopping center. The offer is $1.8 million. "You're kidding." "I never kid about money, dear. There's also the stock portfolio, the bonds, the life insurance. Your family thinks they're fighting over scraps. They have no idea they're fighting over a fortune." "Why didn't you tell them?" "Because I wanted to see who they really were when they thought there wasn't much to gain." She smiled sadly. They showed me exactly who they are. That evening, the doorbell rang. Through the window, I saw the whole family gathered on the porch like a delegation. "Michelle, we need to talk," Mum said when I opened the door. They filed in without invitation. Dad, Mom, Caden, Selena, Omar, even Bella. They arranged themselves in the living room like they were staging an intervention. "We've been thinking," Dad began, "and we realize we may have been too harsh." "Too harsh about what?" "About your care for Mom," Selena said. "We can see how much you love her." Caden nodded. "We want to help more, financially, I mean." I looked at Grandma, who was watching the performance with interest. "Help how?" "We could set up a family fund," Omar suggested. "Everyone contributes to her care costs." "That's very generous," I said carefully. "What changed your minds?" "We realized we were being selfish," Bella said, "thinking about money instead of family." "Money?" Grandma spoke for the first time. "What money?" "Well," Dad cleared his throat, "we know you have some savings, some assets. We want to make sure you're not worried about the cost of care." "How thoughtful. And what do you think those assets are worth?" "We're not here to talk about money, Mom," Caden said quickly. "Aren't you? Then why did you hire a private investigator to look into my finances?" The room went dead silent. "We didn't," Dad started. "The investigator called my bank, my investment firm, even my insurance company." "Did you really think I wouldn't find out?" Selena's face flushed. "We were just trying to protect you." "From what? From the granddaughter who's been wiping my ass for 3 years while you were all too busy to visit?" "Mom, please," Omar said. "We're here because we care. You're here because you're scared. You're scared that Michelle is going to inherit everything, and you'll get nothing." "That's not true," Mom said weakly. "Isn't it, Rachel? Then why did you ask Michelle last week if I'd updated my will recently?" Mom's mouth opened and closed like a fish. "Here's what's going to happen," Grandma continued. "You're all going to leave. You're going to stop harassing my lawyer, stop hiring investigators, and stop pretending you care about anything other than money." "We do care," Bella said. "We love you." "Love?" Grandma laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Love is Michelle sleeping on my floor when I had pneumonia. Love is her holding my hand during panic attacks at 3 a.m. Love is not taking a single vacation in 3 years because she was afraid to leave me alone." She struggled to stand, and I moved to help her. Love is not showing up with cameras and casseroles, staying 20 minutes and leaving. That's not love. That's performance. Dad stood up. "Mom, you're not being fair." "Fair? You want to talk about fair? Fair would have been one of you stepping up when I needed help. Fair would have been visiting me in the hospital when I had my stroke. Fair would have been calling me on my birthday instead of sending a card 3 days late." "We tried," Selena began. "You tried nothing. You calculated the minimum effort required to stay in the will, and that's exactly what you gave me." The family filed out in silence, their faces a mixture of anger and shame. After they left, Grandma collapsed back into her chair, exhausted. "That felt good," she said. "Are you okay?" "I'm dying, Michelle, but for the first time in years, I feel free." 2 weeks later, I woke up to find her bed empty. I found her in the kitchen, sitting at the table with a cup of cold coffee, staring out the window. "Grandma?" She didn't respond. When I touched her shoulder, she looked at me with confusion. "Who are you?" she asked. My heart shattered, but I kept my voice steady. "I'm Michelle. I'm here to take care of you." She studied my face for a long moment, then smiled. "You have kind eyes. I think I'm going to like you." It was the beginning of the end. Grandma passed away on a Thursday morning in March, holding my hand while I read her favorite poem. Her last words were, "Tell them I said thank you for showing me who they really are." The funeral was a circus. Family members I hadn't seen in years suddenly appeared, all tears and fond memories. They took turns at the podium, sharing stories about beloved Violet and her generous spirit. Caden spoke about her unwavering love for family. Selena talked about her selfless devotion to others. Dad called her the heart of our family. I sat in the front row, watching this performance, remembering the 3 years of silence, the missed birthdays, the 20-minute visits. After the service, Bella approached me at the graveside. "Michelle, I'm sorry for your loss. I know how close you two were." "Thank you. Listen, about the will reading tomorrow." "What about it?" "Dad and Uncle Mark think there might be some irregularities. They're bringing their own lawyer." "Irregularities?" "They think Grandma might not have been competent when she made changes. They're going to contest whatever she decided." "Of course they are." The next morning, Sean's conference room was packed. The entire family sat around the mahogany table, their faces a mixture of grief and anticipation. Dad's lawyer, a sharp-looking woman named Patricia, sat beside him with a briefcase full of documents. "Before we begin," Patricia said, "my clients want it on record that they believe Violet was not of sound mind when she made recent changes to her will." Sean nodded calmly. "Noted. However, I have documentation from 3 separate medical professionals confirming Mrs. Violet's competency at the time of signing. We'll be challenging that documentation. That's your right. Shall we proceed?" Sean opened his file and began distributing sealed envelopes. Dad got one, Caden got one, Selena, Omar, Bella. Everyone got an envelope except me. "Michelle," Sean said, "your grandmother left you this." He handed me a single handwritten letter. I watched as the family tore open their envelopes eagerly. Their faces went from anticipation to confusion to anger in seconds. "What the hell is this?" Caden held up a photograph of me and Grandma baking cookies. "This is a joke," Selena said, staring at a picture of me reading to Grandma in the hospital. Dad's envelope contained a photo of me helping Grandma into her wheelchair, along with a note. "This is what love looks like." "Where are the assets?" Patricia demanded. "The house deed, the bank accounts, the investment portfolios?" Sean cleared his throat. "Mrs. Violet placed her entire estate into an irrevocable trust 3 months ago. The trust was established with full legal documentation and multiple witnesses." "A trust for who?" Dad's voice was dangerously quiet. "For Michelle." The room exploded. "That's impossible," Caden shouted. "She didn't have that kind of money." "Actually," Sean said, opening another file, "the estate is valued at approximately $2.3 million. The silence was deafening. $2.3 million, Mom whispered. "The house, the investment portfolio your grandfather established, the life insurance policies, and the land sale that closed last week." "What land sale?" Selena demanded. "The 40 acres outside town, sold to Meridian Development for $1.8 million. Omar stood up so fast his chair fell over. "She had $2 million and let us think she was poor?" "She wasn't poor," Sean said. "She was careful and observant." He pulled out one final document. "She also left this letter to be read aloud to the family. To my children and grandchildren," Sean began reading. "For the past 5 years, I watched you calculate my worth down to the penny. You visited me with stopwatches and cameras, measuring your time and documenting your presence like you were punching a time clock." Dad's face was turning purple. "You hired investigators to spy on my finances. You tried to have me declared incompetent. You plotted to control my money before I was even dead. You showed me exactly who you are when you thought there wasn't much to gain." "This is character assassination," Patricia interrupted. Sean continued reading. Michelle never asked me about money, not once. She gave up her apartment, her career, her social life to take care of me. She held my hair when I was sick, changed my diapers when I couldn't, and read to me when I couldn't sleep. She loved me when I was no longer lovable. Bella was crying now. A heart is worth more than a portfolio. Devotion is worth more than duty. Love is worth more than money. Michelle understood this. The rest of you never did. Sean folded the letter. The trust is irrevocable and was established when Mrs. Violet was of sound mind and body. All assets transfer to Michelle immediately. We're contesting this, Dad said, standing up. That's your right. But I should mention that Mrs. Violet anticipated this reaction. She had every conversation with family members recorded for the past 6 months. Recorded how? Michelle's security system. Every visit, every phone call made in the house, every conversation about money and inheritance, it's all documented. The family looked at me like I was a stranger. You recorded us? Caden asked. I recorded everything. Every time you talked about her like she wasn't there. Every time you calculated her worth. Every time you planned to have her committed. This is entrapment, Patricia said. This is evidence, Sean replied. Evidence of exactly the behavior Mrs. Violet described in her letter. Dad grabbed his coat. This isn't over. Yes, it is, I said quietly. It's been over for 3 years. You just didn't know it yet. As they filed out, Bella stopped at the door. Michelle, I'm sorry. We all are. No, you're not. You're angry that you got caught. After they left, Sean and I sat in the empty conference room. How do you feel? He asked. I opened Grandma's final letter to me. In her shaky handwriting, she'd written, You gave me 3 years of dignity. I'm giving you a lifetime of freedom. Use it well. I feel like I won, I said, but I also feel like I lost everything else. The house felt different without Grandma's presence, bigger somehow, but also emptier. I was sitting in her favorite chair, going through the last of her photo albums, when the doorbell rang. Mom stood on the porch, holding a casserole dish and looking older than I remembered. Can I come in? I stepped aside without a word. She set the casserole on the kitchen counter and turned to face me. I brought your favorite, chicken and rice. You haven't made that in 10 years. I know. She sat down at the kitchen table, the same table where Grandma and I had shared thousands of meals. Michelle, I need to say something. If this is about the will, it's not about the money. She looked up at me with tears in her eyes. It's about me being a coward. I sat down across from her. I knew what your father and Caden were planning. The guardianship petition, the competency hearing, all of it. I knew it was wrong, but I didn't stop them. Why not? Because it was easier to go along than to fight. It's always been easier with your father to just agree. Even when it meant hurting Grandma? Even then. She wiped her eyes. I watched you sacrifice everything for her, and instead of being proud, I was resentful. Resentful that you were stronger than me. Mom, let me finish. When I saw those photos in my envelope, the ones of you taking care of her, I realized something. You weren't just taking care of your grandmother. You were showing us what love actually looks like. The kitchen was quiet except for the ticking of Grandma's old clock. I don't expect forgiveness, Mom continued. I just wanted you to know that I see it now. I see what we lost, and I see what you gave. What we lost. Her. We lost her years before she died because we were too busy protecting ourselves to actually love her. She stood up. I'm proud of you, Michelle. I should have said that 3 years ago. After she left, I found myself in Grandma's bedroom, looking through the blue box one more time. At the bottom, underneath all the letters, was a small envelope I'd never noticed before. My name was written on it in fresh ink. Inside was a key and a note. Storage Unit 247 on Maple Street. Your real inheritance. The storage unit was bigger than I expected, filled with canvases covered in white sheets. I pulled off the first sheet and gasped. It was a painting of the garden behind Grandma's old house, the one she'd sold when she moved to assisted living. But this wasn't just any painting. It was one of mine, from art school, one I thought had been thrown away years ago. I pulled off sheet after sheet, dozens of my paintings, sketches, art projects from high school and college, pieces I'd forgotten about, pieces I thought were lost forever. At the back of the unit was an easel with a fresh canvas and a note. For when you're ready to paint again. Love, Grandma. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Bella. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I wanted you to know something. I found the family group chat from 3 years ago, the one where everyone was making fun of you for taking care of Grandma. I screenshotted everything and sent it to Dad and Uncle Mark. I told them if they contest the will, I'll make sure everyone sees what they really said about both of you. Another text. I'm sorry I wasn't braver sooner. Grandma was right about everything. I drove home as the sun was setting, my car full of paintings and possibility. The house was quiet, but it didn't feel empty anymore. It felt like a beginning. I was making dinner when the doorbell rang again. This time it was a young woman about my age, holding a bouquet of flowers. Are you Michelle? Yes, I'm Sarah. I was one of your grandmother's nurses at the assisted living place before you took her home. She held out the flowers. I wanted to thank you. Thank me? For showing us what family should look like. Your grandmother talked about you constantly. She was so proud of you. She was proud of everyone. No, she wasn't. She was disappointed in most of them. But you made her feel loved right up until the end. That night, I set up the easel in the living room, right where Grandma used to do her puzzles. I squeezed paint onto the palette for the first time in 3 years. I started painting her hands, the hands that had held mine during scary movies when I was little, the hands that had taught me to braid my hair and tie my shoes, the hands that had grown frail and spotted but had never stopped reaching for mine. As I painted, I could almost hear her voice. Sometimes, you have to stop looking so hard to see what's right in front of you. I understood now. The money, the house, the investments, those weren't my real inheritance. My inheritance was knowing the difference between love and performance, between devotion and duty, between showing up and just appearing. The family would probably never speak to me again. They'd tell people I manipulated a sick old woman, that I stole their rightful inheritance. They'd rewrite history to make themselves the victims. But I had something they'd never have. 3 years of memories with someone who loved me unconditionally. 3 years of being exactly who I was supposed to be. They'd never understand what they lost. And maybe that was the real inheritance after all.